Hi, I'm going to be talking to you about the online program and book Yes for Success, How to Achieve Life Harmony and Fulfillment. Here is a little bit of an overview. Yes for Success is a life planning program that enables you to clarify what success means for you and how to identify the exact steps to create it. This was created by Gary Ryan, the Director of Organisations That Matter. So the key concepts we will be going over today are mental models, creative tension, passion, and life harmony. To begin with, I'll be asking you a question. What does success mean to you? Now, success can mean many different things to each individual. There is no one right answer. Success to a person can mean being wealthy, having a job that they enjoy doing, running their own business, achieving the goals that they have set out for themselves, having good relationships with your friends and family. The idea is success can mean many, many different things, and there's no one right answer. It's just important that you figure out what success actually means to you. So we'll be moving on to our first key concept, which is mental models. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, what is a mental model? Great question. Well, mental models are your theories of how the world works. When talking about mental models, I like to use the iceberg analogy. So, typically we know 1/3 of the iceberg sits above the waterline and 2/3 of the iceberg sits below the waterline. Now, this 1/3 of the iceberg that you can see are your behaviours. So these are your observable behaviours. The 2/3 below the iceberg are your mental models. We can't see them, typically. These are subconscious. Now, what we want to do through Yes for Success is raise your iceberg out of the water so we're able to see it. Now, why would we want to do this? So I mentioned before that mental models for majority are subconscious, but they directly impact our behaviour. Now, without even realising, some of our mental models can actually be holding us back from achieving our version of success. Let me give you an example to explain this. A lot of people have a negative mental model surrounding public speaking. They say they hate it, it makes them feel sick, it makes them really anxious, they're no good at it. The unfortunate reality is, at some point in our life, we're going to have to do a form of public speaking. Whether that's doing a presentation to your uni class, or even when you're working, you could be in a meeting. And the person running the meeting could pick you to answer a question. You have to speak in front of the 15, 20 people, however many people are in the room, and answer that question. Now, that's a form of public speaking. But if you've told yourself you're no good at it, you hate it, it makes you feel anxious, you're probably not going to be able to answer the question that well. Whereas if you've identified that you have this mental model about public speaking, you're then able to make the conscious steps towards being better at public speaking and making yourself feel more comfortable when it comes to public speaking, which in turn can lead to you achieving your version of success. Now, where do these mental models derive from? Mental models come from many, many different things. So they come from your life experiences, your family upbringing. So for example, me, I'm one of 5 kids and I have 4 brothers. My mental models about family and things like that are probably going to be a lot different compared to, say, somebody who grew up in a predominantly female household or grew up an only child. We're probably going to have different mental models. Also your education, your religion, whether you do or don't have one, travel exposure and exposure to different countries, all of these things impact your mental models. And it's really important to be aware of this. I'll now be moving on to our second concept, which is creative tension. So when talking about creative tension, I like to use the elastic band for success. I have my elastic band here and I'm going to show you this metaphor. So up here, we have our vision, our goal, what we are trying to achieve. And then we have down here, which is our current reality. Now, when this elastic band is on stretch, is there energy within this elastic band? Yes, there is energy. What type of energy is in this elastic band? It's potential energy. What we want to do is we want to convert this potential energy into kinetic energy, because kinetic energy is energy for action. Now watch what happens when I start using this kinetic energy. So your current reality gets closer to your goal and your vision, what you're striving for, which is what we want. Now, what are the steps to apply creative tension? Step 1, what does success look like? So this is the up here. Knowing what success means to you is step 1. So when setting this goal, we like to say that we want to focus on what's possible, not necessarily what's probable. Now, what do I mean by this? So, say I've set myself the goal that in 2 months' time, I want to be able to run 10Ks. Now, my current reality is I've never run a day in my life. I can't run 500 meters without feeling like I'm going to pass out. The probability of me being able to achieve this goal is probably pretty low. Whereas, is it possible? Yes, it's definitely possible. If I do the right training, I definitely can be able to run 10Ks by the end of the 2 months. So it's really important to focus on what's possible, not necessarily what's probable. Now, this moves us on to step 2. What is my current situation? So this is just being self-aware and knowing where you currently are in relation to where you want to be. Now, we get to step 3, which is the middle part of the elastic band. What do I need to do to be successful? So this is just understanding what you need to do down here to get up here. Now, one thing that we know with every goal that you set, there's one thing you need to do, and that's research. And this isn't your typical research. This is going out and finding what needs to be done so you can achieve your goal. Let me give you an example of this whole process. So say you're in uni and next semester you know you have a really hard subject coming up, but you've set yourself the goal that you want to get a HD. So here's your goal you've set. I want to get a HD. Now, your current reality is you're sitting at around about credit a pass. So that's your current reality. Now, what is step 3? We need to figure out what I need to do to get from here to here. So some research you could do is simply finding out what your assignments are for this subject so you can set yourself enough time to be able to complete them. Or you could even ask your professors and tutors what other students have done in the past who have achieved HDs, whether there was any extra work or they had a specific tutor who was helping them. Just asking, and then maybe you could follow that. Okay, so we'll be moving on to passion now. In the elastic band analogy, I mentioned a lot about energy. Well, where does this energy come from? A lot of this energy actually comes from passion. And what do I mean when I'm talking about passion? Passion is when you're doing this activity, you feel like time just disappears. Or you can sometimes feel like you're in this sense of flow. So for example, I used to play football, and when I was having a really good game, I just felt like the ball was coming to me and I was making all my shots, I was hitting all my targets, doing good tackles. Everything just felt like it was working out my way. And I guess you could say I was in a sense of flow. So that's what I'm talking about when talking about flow and passion. So some questions you need to consider. What are you passionate about? And there's many, many different things you can be passionate about. Some people are really passionate about a musical instrument, whether they play the guitar or piano or clarinet, or it could be a specific sport, or you could just love going to the gym. Going to the gym just makes you feel so happy. Or you could be a dancer. You could love dancing, or going to salsa classes, or even doing a Pilates class, or reading. You can just get lost in a book and love it, and it just makes you feel so happy. You could love cooking. Some people are really passionate about cooking. There's so many different things to be passionate about, and you just need to figure out what makes you feel passionate. And once you figure out what you are passionate about, you need to think about, how is this being reflected in my life? So a lot of the time we do a lot of things that we're passionate about when we're younger, and then we grow up and time gets in the way and you feel like you have no time to do the things that you're passionate about. Well, in Yes for Success, we really encourage doing the things that you are passionate about, because passion gives you energy. Even when you ask somebody to talk about their passion, usually you'll see the smile on their face. Well, this is a form of energy, and this energy gives us the motivation to do the things that sometimes we really can't be bothered doing, but you need to be able to do to achieve your goals. Going back to the achieving a HD in a hard subject goal, from doing your passions and getting this energy, it can give you the energy and motivation to be like, okay, now I need to go knuckle down and do some studying. And it just makes you feel like you have a little bit of purpose in life too. In the past 17 years of Organisations That Matter, something that we have noticed is that the people who are the most happy in their careers are the people whose job sits at the cross-section of both their passions and their talents. So who doesn't want to be happy in their job? I know I do. I don't think anyone has the intention of being unhappy in their job. So it's really important when making career decisions about where you want to work to know what are my passions, but also what are my talents. Sometimes this can be a difficult question and people are like, I don't really know what I'm good at. Well, you can answer this question pretty simply. Just ask one of your friends, hey, what do you think I'm good at? You'll be surprised they'll have a list of things that you're good at and you may not have even picked up before. So it's really important to know, what am I good at? Once you know your talents, you need to figure out, what am I doing to become better at what I'm already good at? Because you can be good at something, but why not be great? And take it that step further. And we need to be practicing what we're already good at and nurturing these talents. Now we'll be moving on to the last concept, which is life harmony. Now, when talking about life harmony, I like to use this picture. What are some things you notice in this picture? For me, I see that there's a form of balancing. He's performing a balancing act. And it doesn't really look easy. Yeah, that's true, definitely. I also see the person in the back doesn't have what we call all of the 6 vital strategies. They only have 3. So therefore, they're not able to move from the present to the future. Now, this is quite typical with the people who you may think are typically successful. So you're rich, you're famous people. Sometimes the people who you think are typically really successful, these rich and famous people, they don't actually have all of the 6 vital strategies. Yes, they may have the fame and the wealth, but at the end of the day, they come home to an empty house and they're not able to achieve this sense of life harmony. If you draw your attention to the person at the back again, they're facing the present. They're not looking into the future. Now, this is really important to acknowledge. We need to be able to leave behind what doesn't have value to us anymore. It's really important to know where to put your energy and what to bring from your present into your future. Now, what are these 6 vital strategies? So first one, we've got self-awareness. So this is just being aware about your mental models, which mental models are potentially holding you back from achieving success, knowing what your passions are, what your talents are, what your values are, just having awareness about who you are as a person. We've got fitness and health. So this is just maintaining a good physical, mental, and spiritual health. We have career. This involves being employed or running your own business. Next, we have finance and wealth for life. So this is being educated about money, as well as knowing how much money you need to be able to live the life that you want. A lot of the time, people want these jobs and this certain career, but it's not going to be able to pay them enough to be able to live the life that they want. So it's really important to be educated about this. Which brings me on to the next vital strategy, which is education and lifelong learning. So this involves your formal education, primary, secondary, and tertiary studies if you decide to do that, as well as lifelong learning. So lifelong learning is making the conscious effort to be continuously learning. Whether this is joining different committees or groups, learning a new skill, going traveling to learn about different cultures. There's many different ways to do lifelong learning, but it's important that we are continuously learning. And then we have our last vital strategy, which are relationships that matter. So putting energy into the relationships that matter, as well as being aware of which relationships matter to you. So you have your friendships, your family relationships, you have educational relationships and professional relationships. There's so many different relationships that you need to be aware of and know that you need to put energy into these relationships. When talking about life harmony, we like to say harmony is judged in the long term and not the short term. Now, what do I mean by this? It's near impossible to be able to have all of these 6 vital strategies balanced 24/7. We know that, and that's okay. It's judged over, say, a year span, making sure that you've put the same amount of energy into each strategy over a long period of time. I'll give you an example. Say you're in university and it's exam season right around the corner. You're going to be putting more energy into your education when it's around exam season, which is perfectly fine. What we'd like to say is we put the other strategies in maintenance mode. So say you usually go to the gym for 2 hours a day. Because you're putting more energy into your studying, which is perfectly fine, let's say go for a half an hour walk each day instead of 2 hours at the gym. That's perfectly fine. Or on the flip side, when you're on uni break, you have more time for travel, which can mean you're putting more energy into your lifelong learning or self-awareness because you learn so much about yourself when you're traveling. So just to reiterate, Yes for Success is a life planning program that enables you to clarify what success means for you and how to identify the exact steps to create it. The key concepts we went over are mental models, creative tension, passion, and life harmony. Now, here's a QR code to scan to have an access to the Yes for Success, How to Achieve Life Harmony and Fulfillment book, and it will take you straight to the webpage. Thank you so much for listening.